Hello, and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. This is Ruben, and today is a very special episode because today is the Mother's Day episode, and today I have my mother here with
Hi.
me. Now, I notice you have a list of things. How many things are on your list of things?
Well, I started numbering them, but then I started adding more in, and then I just started things that came to mind. So I don't know.
Okay, all
And
right.
we may get to them all or we may not, but
Okay,
I don't do well off the cuff. I'm not an improvisationer like you are, and so it helps for me to have things written down.
I understand. But so today, what we're doing is, first of all, this is my mom. So, I mean, we can't hear you, but I assume you've said hello. Uh, Now, today, my mother is going to be interviewing me, which, yeah, so we'll see.
My idea, I came up with
It
that.
was my mom's idea,
So,
and I thought it sounded like a swell thing to do for Mother's Day. All right. So Mom, do you want to
all right.
introduce yourself at all?
All
Or?
right. Well, I'm Elizabeth Ryan, Ruben's mother. And I'm not real good at talking, so we'll see how this goes. But I do
Okay.
have my list of things, so that will get my brain going. Um,
All right. So what's your first question?
oh, I was just wondering what your earliest memories are, and if you can't think of any, I have some ideas that I could.
So my earliest memories are of the house in Akron.
Oh, you do remember
I
Charlotte
do
Street,
remember Charlotte Street.
and do you remember little Tommy?
I do remember Tommy.
He would get you in trouble.
Would he?
Yes, because he would run across the street, and we had told you not to go across the street, but you would follow him.
Now that I don't remember.
Yeah,
That
and
I
then
don't
we'd make you
remember.
come in the house and not play with him when you'd run across the street. And his dad would spank him, and he'd just laugh. He didn't do any good. He was a funny little kid.
Unfazed by corporal punishment.
Yes, exactly. He thought it was hilarious. And then he'd keep doing it over and over again.
That the power of the mind over the body. That's even some young people have it. I do remember Tommy. I remember there was a kid on that street named Lee, or at least I think there was. And I think early on I actually may have confused the two Lees that I played with in my head. But or
How,
maybe I'm misremembering that. Maybe I'm
how
mixing
old
people up.
was he? I don't
I don't
remember.
know.
Was he older than you?
I assume. I mean, we only lived there till I was what, 3?
Three.
So I assume that most of the kids were older than me. Um, I remember the house. I remember that we had Nickelodeon, and I remember that I used to watch. I don't even know if I watched it or if you guys taped it, but it was this show on Nickelodeon about a koala bear,
Oh, I remember those koala bears.
which I didn't realize at the time, but looking back on it and understanding the art style that it was composed in was actually probably my earliest exposure to anime. Uh,
Yeah, I remember those guys now. Yeah.
so that was an interesting show, especially since there's an episode about they kept using it. It was the first time I'd ever heard the word Holocaust, but the show wasn't talking about the Holocaust. It was they kept referencing some like impending, I think it was a drought or something. But yeah, no, I remember that show.
Yeah, I remember those little guys.
So those are my earliest memories. For a long time, I've had a memory of like falling down the stairs there, which actually might be my earliest memory. I have a vague memory of like running around the house and not being able to find anybody.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
I remember like the door to the basement, but I do not remember ever going down in the basement.
Oh, the basement was very creepy.
Yeah.
It had this giant old furnace with all these big tentacles. It looked like a giant octopus.
What? Now I wish I'd seen it.
Oh, and then and the foundation was in terrible shape, and it was when it rained, water would just pour in the basement. But it was a friend of mine, Monica. Do you remember Monica?
Um, the
she
name
had
sounds
two
familiar, but
kids.
it's such a it's a very
Well,
normal name.
well, she had two kids that were a little bit older than, not a little bit, they were a lot older than you because um, I babysat them when I was pregnant with you. They gave me the chicken pox and then you got the chicken pox. But
Yes, I was born with chicken pox,
yes,
and the doctors assumed that that would immunize me to chicken pox.
but it didn't.
Yeah, they were wrong. I got chicken pox when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Um,
Yeah.
but anyhow, Monica knew the owner of the house. He lived across the street from her, and so we got a really cheap rent. But I can see why it was not in the best of shape. But
Hmm.
you're probably better you didn't go down the basement. It was kind of creepy down there.
No, I mean that's probably why I don't remember going down in the basement. I remember eating eggs on toast, and when I was young, I ate them runny. I
Oh,
remember that
yeah, I
because it
probably
would soak
because
into the toast.
yeah, that's how I like them. You don't like them that way now?
At some point, no. At some point I preferred the more cooked consistency. But I will say the perfect yolk is the one that hasn't turned completely yellow, that it's completely solid but still orange.
Uh,
Although that was a thing I learned from, although a thing I learned from you and Dad keeping chickens since the time period where we moved to Stowe, um, is that I discovered that most eggs in America are of like kind of garbage quality. Like most Americans probably don't realize that egg yolks are not meant to be like this fluorescent yellow. That like a truly healthy egg yolk is orange. Like no one seems to know that in
well,
America.
a lot of chicken. I just read something that in California they're trying to get better regulations for how animals are kept, and the pork industry was fighting it. And
Of course, the pork industry is
but
fighting it.
the Supreme Court overruled the pork industry.
Ah,
But the thing was, when I read what the qualifications were, it wasn't just pork, but it also had chickens. Chickens only have to have a 12 by 12-inch cage. And I'm thinking, that's what a sad existence that your poor
that's
chicken,
yeah.
that's not even very
Wait,
big.
like 12 by 12, like inches or
Inches,
feet? Inches.
inches.
Okay, so it's
Yes, this
1 foot square.
yeah. So it's like, that's a horrible. So yeah, no wonder why your eggs are these poor stressed chickens. All they get is poor.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, it's also the fact that they're not fed a proper diet,
Well,
which
that
is a
too,
major
right?
component in why a lot of animal products in America are kind of trash. Um, like we feed corn to cows. Cows, that's not a natural corn and soybean is mostly what we feed to our cows and our chickens. But these are not foods that they're not foods that these animals evolved eating at all. Like chickens want to live and want to go outside and eat like bugs
Bugs, worms,
and
bugs.
stuff
Yes.
out of the grass, and like they'll eat pretty much anything. But
Yeah, they're pretty omnivores.
yeah, but like when you give them just a this constant like simple grain diet that has no variety, you're not going to get a fully. It's not going to produce great eggs or great milk. Like that's why there was that big craze for like that's why there's always a constant craze for some type of foreign beef. Like first it was Kobe beef and then it was Wagyu beef. And the reason like I know the coat like um we were getting like the big deal with the Kobe beef is it had more omega acids in it because in order to create that type of beef, you have to let them graze. And that's why it cost more.
Oh, right.
And that's why it was popular. And eventually there became a market for it. And slowly like it stopped becoming like high quality Kobe beef. Now Kobe beef is just I don't know.
Just another beef out there.
Yeah. And I don't know what the process is for Wagyu. I've heard some conflicting things on what Wagyu is. But like it's I do know that Wagyu I think involves massaging the cows.
Oh, you're kidding. Oh
Uh
no, that's
so
funny.
yeah, like it I don't know.
All right. Oh, let's get back to your
Oh yeah,
childhood.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Back to my childhood.
because we can get thrown off into
Oh yeah,
politics and
yeah.
stuff.
No, I know.
That was me bringing that up because you brought up chickens. But anyways, do you remember when we took the bus to New York City?
No.
You don't remember that? It's so funny.
Well, that depends.
You were 3 years old.
No, I don't remember that one.
Okay.
I've seen the pictures. I remember distinctly seeing all the
I
pictures.
don't remember. There was some kind of
I,
march
yeah, they had the bread and puppet theater
yeah,
there.
but I don't remember what we were marching against. But
Oh, mom.
the American Friends Service Committee had a bus, and Greg Coleridge asked us if we wanted to go. And so we said, "Oh yeah, let's do that."
I
And
do.
so
Greg Coleridge.
yeah, Greg Coleridge, he's like the director of this area's
Oh,
American Friends Service
oh,
Committee.
okay.
And
Good to know, I guess.
and anyhow, so, but we were in the midst of potty training you, and so we we had your little backpack because we always carried you in a little backpack,
Hmm.
and then tied to it was like the insert of like a little potty chair. So if you had to go to the bathroom, we could we could
Wow.
yeah. But it was fun. That's my only experience riding on a subway. And it's interesting. You think something like, but maybe you slept a lot. You probably slept on the bus. You probably slept in the backpack on the back of dad as he's
Like
walking.
I like yeah, no, I don't have I have memories of like going to things like that with you, but not that
Not
one
that one.
specifically. The one I most distinctively remember is I actually don't know what you guys I think it was like a plant of some kind. Um Maybe a nuclear plant. I don't know. Were we against nuclear plants?
Yeah,
I,
yeah, right, yeah, for sure.
uh
Was that in like New Hampshire or
yeah,
Vermont
I
or
want to say it was
something?
somewhere New Englandy.
It was either New Hampshire or Vermont. I get those
That
two
one I
states
remember because
mixed
I
up.
fell asleep on the bus and I peed myself. So that was
Wow,
that was not fun.
I don't remember that part, but I guess you would remember that more than me.
Yeah. My more positive, like we stayed in some cool places when we were there. I remember that. And also there was one place that had the Prince Valiant cartoon on. And even then I was like into comic strips and stuff from the
Right.
newspaper. So I knew who Prince Valiant
Valiant
was.
was, yeah.
It was the comic that I just looked at the picture.
Yeah. Well, they were Prince Valiant had very nice
I know.
uh,
But like Prince Valiant was like the serial story. So like I
right.
never like fully knew what was
Oh,
happening.
right, because it was yeah, there were
It
standalone comics and then there were serial
mhm.
comics. And one of my favorite ones was Brenda Starr. She was a reporter. And
I
then Dick Tracy. And now
mhm.
stuff from Dick Tracy is coming. Like Dick Tracy had the
Yeah.
wrist thing on his where he could, call
Yeah.
people and talk to them. And now they got the iPhones that you wear on your wrist and you
Yeah, I
can
mean they do have wristwatches that do that stuff
yeah,
too. It's
right.
like the
So
thing. And
yeah, so
yeah, no, Dick Tracy, calling that one out.
I remember
Dick
you
Tracy was a
yeah,
favorite was as far as serial comics go, I think Dick Tracy was probably my favorite. It was never in our newspaper, but I would get the books from the library
now
and the movie was cool.
when
I
I
remember
was
as
a
a kid.
kid, it was in our newspaper.
Ah,
But that's the thing is as you grow up, the newspapers have to decide what are we going to keep, what are we going to get rid of.
I thought, I remember going somewhere else in the country and discovering that they were still making Dick Tracy and it was still in the newspapers in that area. And I was like, what?
Right, you just never know who has I think even the Cleveland Plain Dealer has different,
Oh, yeah.
cartoons than
Yeah, of course.
the
Than the Akron Beacon
Beacon
Journal
Journal.
or whatnot.
Yeah, the Akron Beacon Journal's gotten rid of a lot of my favorites, but
Hmm.
um do you remember you and Justin, you took a cartoon class at
I
the
took the cartoon class several times. I just enjoyed taking the cartooning class,
right, because
which
you
is interesting because I never really got good at drawing.
well,
I mean, like arguably I could have created my own, I could have become stylized, something I understand more now, but
oh, you're
I
trying to be precise and
I couldn't draw something that looked real to
right.
save my life. And when I started getting the books on how like the comic book artists do it with like their like skeletons and whatnot, it was like I couldn't wrap my head around it
Uh,
to learn how to draw like that. Um, so that was so eventually I was like, I wish I could draw and
uh,
just sort of moved away from drawing.
Well, do you remember your newspaper?
Yeah, no, I remember that.
Yeah, what was the name of that newspaper?
It started out as the Daily Flash, but then it occurred to me that I'd have to
Oh,
put it out every day, so it
so the
became the Weekly
Weekly
Flash,
Flash, right? And
which was, in all honesty, like it started out as like a serious at like a child's concept of a newspaper, but it slowly just became like there'd be like I do like a weather report or like
no,
the
I would do the
I mean I
weather
know
report. Yeah,
I mean we would there would be a weather report
right. I
or
and
there'd be or I will talk to because we went to basketball games a few times back then, so I would talk
right,
about the
whatever.
basketball.
Yeah, what was going on, and then you also did cartoons in it.
But I mean, like that's what I was getting to is that
Yeah,
like it ultimately became an excuse for me to publish my own essentially comics at that point in time.
and Raphael would write us something,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Raleigh would
yeah.
do something, and we would have it at the co-op,
And
so
yeah.
people could get it at the co-op.
And I remember dad was not happy that like one of the stories was about Raleigh's trip to the dentist. He
Oh,
thought he was embarrassed about that. Uh
that sounds like that.
yeah, he was like, I don't think that should be fair. That's family business. I don't know. That's not at all what my dad sounds like, but
That's true.
yeah.
Um, well, do you remember when we moved to the farm then on
Oh yeah.
what's the
I
name?
remember, yeah, I have a lot of
Pine
memories
Seal
of the
Road,
farm.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of memories of the farm. Tons of memories about the farm.
And then you remember when Raphael was born?
Yes, I do remember when Raphael was born. I think it was it two people hung out with me all day essentially while you guys were doing stuff. I want to say that I say it was Tim and Jeffrey.
See, I'm trying to remember if Jeffrey was at that one or if Tim and Jeffrey were at Raleigh's and
Well,
just Tim at
well, I
Raphael's.
was a lot older at Raleigh's,
Right,
so
you
like
were.
my memories for that one are very different because
Oh,
I
okay.
I don't think people felt the need to babysit me for that one.
Oh, okay. So maybe it was both of them then.
But I distinctly remember at the beginning of that I think we slept upstairs at that
We
point,
did. We were
which we
sleeping
didn't do for
upstairs.
long. I feel like we ended up in one of the downstairs rooms fairly.
Yeah, we weren't up there very long. Maybe soon after Raphael was born, we moved downstairs.
Mhm. Was it a we have a tiny crawling baby now? Maybe I don't know.
Well, it was nice because we were in the room with the wood burning stove, and we had
Ah,
the the Tim Smith bought a bird feeder that went in the windows so you could watch the
okay.
birds. That was a nice room. It had lots of windows. I like them.
Yeah, I remember starting out that day upstairs playing with that first bucket of Legos you guys got me, or the first bucket of Legos that I remember, anyways. I remember they played with me for that like that for a while, and then at some point I think we went for a canoe ride in the pond. Um,
Yeah, it was January, but it was a warm January, January
I just
29th.
I was gonna say I distinctly remember this the sun being out.
Yeah, it was a real nice. In fact, it was hot in that we had the wood burning stove going, but it was hot because we had him down. Or was that?
You know, that's an interesting point because for I know when Raphael's birthday is, but like I'd never like all my memories are of that day not being cold at all.
No, it was a really warm end of well, it was January 29th, end of the day and end of the month, and it was a nice warm day.
Hmm.
Oh, do you remember when we people would say, "Do you want a brother or sister?" What you would say?
I do not.
You would say, I wrote this down. You would say you wanted one of each.
I wanted a brother and a
And a
sister.
sister. Yep.
Okay. Never got a sister.
No, never got a sister.
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've always kind of been like that. I've always been a like, why not both kind of person,
Oh, right.
which
Yeah.
has really driven like it's made me crazy in life, to be honest. Like, there's so many panic attacks over having to choose between things.
You always were like that, even
Always,
as a
I
kid,
what?
right?
Okay, yeah.
Growing up, you were like that.
Choosing between things.
Right.
What?
Right. You'd say, I can't decide. You decide. Yeah, you've always had that.
Yeah, no, I've never been able to choose between things. It's a very It's a problem to be honest.
Yeah.
Does not make functioning easy. I don't know.
No,
So I've
I
always had an executive apparent. What's funny is I didn't remember this being a problem when I was a child,
no,
but I
I
thought it was something that happened
no,
during
I
puberty.
remember as your mother, I don't want to make a decision. I can't decide. Yeah, it would kind of put you in a tizzy. You weren't sure what. Uh,
Oh, wow.
so
Okay.
you were one of the kids. Oh, don't give him a choice. Just say, here, Ruben.
I don't know. Maybe you should have made me forced me to make more choices.
Oh,
I don't know
well, you know.
because I never got better at.
Do you remember your first rainbow gathering? You were,
No, I
yeah,
remember stories of it, and I remember seeing pictures of the first rainbow
yeah,
gathering you guys brought me to. But
yeah. It was in Pennsylvania, and at that time you were kind of slow at stuff. You didn't like.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I know you guys told me I didn't learn to crawl for a while.
It was funny. You seem to like be this mellow kid that unless something motivated you to do something, you're just happy to just be. And we were at Uncle Matt's house,
Oh my God, I've been like this since birth.
and you were about a year old, and you saw these drums like bongo drums, and you decide I was home with you, and they'd gone to a Grateful Dead concert, and so you saw those drums, and for some reason you thought, I want those, and you got crawled over to it. And I'm like, wow, that's the first time Ruben's crawled. It was almost like you, um, oh, I should do that. I'm not sure why you decided to start walking it. It was the Rainbow Gathering is always the first week in July, and you were one again. And like I said, you just started crawling in April, and here it was July, and you decided you were going to walk. So you were learning to walk at the Rainbow Gathering, which is interesting and uneven terrain.
Hmm.
And
Wow,
yeah,
I was a strange baby.
you were. And talking, you didn't talk for a while, but then when you finally started talking, you were talking in sentences and stuff. And so yeah, it was sort of like,
I've always, I guess, I'm just naturally a late bloomer.
I guess. And how about reading? Since we're talking about,
Okay, if if there's
okay,
anything anyone's going to use against me, it's going to be this one. I did not, um, I did not learn to read until I was 10. Um, which was interesting because, like, I don't know,
well, we were,
like I
well, I guess
spent,
we should mention you were homeschooled.
I was homeschooled,
Right.
yes.
So, and we were into the unschooling thing where when the kid seems ready to do something, then you go with it. And so we would periodically try and get you to read. We
I
and
remember,
you just didn't seem interested. So we just like, okay, we'll wait. They say boys are later at reading, and it's better to.
apparently Stella has done the same thing.
Ah, okay.
She has only just started reading.
Ah, well, hopefully she'll like it.
Yeah.
And do you remember what motivated you?
Um, I believe what I've heard is that it was when I started acting because
Yes, you
it was like I can't read. I gotta read these scripts. It's
right.
important. I can't do this if I can't read the
Right.
scripts.
You can't what do you call it? Audition if you can't. Okay, read page so and so, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know.
and so, and that's another thing. It's like you were like 9 or 10, and you said, "I want to be an actor and a director," and me and Dad are like, "What?" But
Yeah.
I guess we shouldn't have been surprised because we would take you to live theater
Hmm.
um, up in Cleveland. They would have these afternoon performances that were free of something that was going to be on in the evening up at one of those playhouse places. And so we would take you even, and you weren't supposed to have kids under a certain age, but we impressed on you and subsequently on your brothers that when you were in a theater, you didn't talk and you were quiet. And if it was really desperate, you whispered into. So you guys were always really good at the theater, which
Wow.
so we managed to get you in. So you had been in live theater and of course the cartoons on television, and
Hmm.
so I guess that's what kind of got you thinking, I want to do this.
Maybe.
And
I honestly don't remember.
well, it, but that's it. You were your first audition and you're like, uh, it was at Antic
Hmm.
where somebody, I'm not sure, do you remember who the little kid was that it was a friend of ours whose kid wanted to be involved, and they said, how about if Ruben was involved
No, I
too?
don't remember it.
And I don't remember who that
I don't
was.
remember there's being someone in it that I knew.
You weren't real close. It was more like friends of ours as opposed to friends of yours.
Now I'm very curious as to who it was.
Maybe Dad will remember. I'll have to ask him. But so it was Antics, Actors in Training in Cuyahoga Falls is where you started out,
Hmm.
and there were classes, and then there were auditions for the shows, and it's sort of like you realized I gotta learn to read so I can do this, and you did with the help of Dr. Seuss. I don't know if you
Really,
remember the
Dr.
Dr.
Seuss?
Seuss.
I vaguely remember this. I
Yes,
vaguely remember
because
this.
they're rhyming, and and also they were a lot of times Dr. Seuss had made up words that weren't even real words. But
Hmm.
no, and I thought you were great in theater. Maybe just because I'm your mom, but no, everybody else says you were good too.
I appreciate that.
I was, I, you're great in improv. You're hilarious in
Oh,
improv
thanks,
too.
Mom.
Oh, but I still wish you'd also do plays, because plays you get to take on a whole character and be this person. Do you have a favorite play you were in that you really liked the most, or
That's a good question. Um,
of course you were in so many different
I was in a lot of plays.
genres, so many
No,
like
yeah, like
depressing or
at a certain around around the time before I went to college, I did I counted it out off of my resume, and I had done like 40 plays,
wow. Do you have those
over
written
40
down
plays.
somewhere?
I mean, you might have it if you have any of my old resumes.
I don't know if I.
I don't know if you kept any of
Well,
them.
I know you were in Our Town twice.
I was in
Once
our
when you
town
were really
twice.
small, and then when you were older, you had
Yeah,
a different
I was
role.
in it when I was 12, and I played
Some
the
little dead
younger
kid,
kid.
young dead kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, he dies later. And then at Weathervane, I played the at Antic, I played the kid, not the important kids,
No,
but like
just
one of their siblings.
right.
And then at the then at Weathervane, I played. I think it's Doc. Oh my god, is it Webbs or Gibbs?
Oh, I think it was Webb,
I was Dr. Webb.
or maybe it was.
Whatever he was. He
Yeah.
was the dad who was also a doctor. So I played that part at Weathervane, and that was when I was like in my late teens. In my teens, I got cast as dads a lot, or father figures.
Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah,
You
no,
were Matthew Cuthbert.
that was a lot of fun.
That's always going to be my favorite role. That you were just this great old man, and they had
That
great makeup on you. Looked like an old guy, and
yeah, and that was like I feel like that one was interesting because like I almost felt like pseudo famous for that role because like it was a role where people would like approach me in public and be like, "Hey, were you this guy in this play?" And I'd be like, "Yes, I was." Um, and the character even had a catchphrase or something like, "Well, I ain't saying that it, well, I ain't saying something, but I am." I don't know. I can't remember it. I can't remember it. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure Matthew Cuthbert's famous. There's someone out there who's going to know what Matthew Cuthbert's famous phrase is. Um, but yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. It,
wasn't Jen Anne of Green Gables?
yeah, Jen
Yeah,
was Anna Green.
yeah.
Yeah, no, Jen wasn't Anna Green.
Oh,
Yeah, Jen played my sister.
oh, oh. She was Marilla.
Yeah, yeah, she
Oh,
played my
who was
sister.
Anne of Green Gable? Who was
There were
Anne?
two girls who played Anna Green Gable.
Different days or
Um,
something, or
yeah, I don't remember exactly.
oh, okay.
I don't
I
remember.
remember
There was like
Jen.
one of them had some kind of conflict or something.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I
but
remembered she was in it, but I didn't remember. So she was Marilla, and you were Matthew Cuthbert that took
yes,
in little Anna Green Gables. Oh, that was such a good play. I really liked that one.
yeah, it's a cute one. I got a lot of accolades for that one.
Yeah.
Not like in awards or anything. They didn't give awards for the youth theater at Weathervane at that time, as far as I'm aware.
Uh,
Um, but
and then at the Magical Theater. Do you
Oh
remember?
yeah, I did one show at Magical Theater, which was really a summer stock
Yeah,
program.
right, it was. Yeah.
Uh,
You were in
I
Joseph
was
and
yeah,
the Amazing
I was Jacob and
Technicolor.
Joseph and the Maids and
The
Technicolor Dreamcoat.
father. You were the father.
Yeah,
And you were so short. You're
yeah.
this
The
little.
director there had like this. He thought it would be like a hilarious like
Oh,
thing to have the
father
father
be real
be like
short.
this short guy. I think he had like almost like a George Burns impression or something in mind. I don't
Uh,
know, but it was fun. It was a fun experience. Got to hang out with a lot of kids, roughly my age.
right.
It
But
was
it
fun
was a
stuff.
musical and you're not really a,
I'm not really into musicals.
yeah. Didn't they tell you not to sing or something? Or was it not to
What?
dance or something?
What?
Oh,
I don't remember that.
okay, maybe I just,
Uh, but I don't know. I don't know. I've never been big into singing. I even like took I remember taking voice lessons for a while as a teenager, but like oh, it was too much like playing an instrument. I can't my brain is not built for that. I can't do it. I took piano lessons for years
yeah, I remember
at your
the,
guys' behest
me,
and like
well, that was your
it
homeschooling
yeah,
music
no.
thing, but
And it didn't fully take.
right, it
It
didn't,
did not fully take. Like I couldn't like I could play the piano to a certain extent and I can even read piano music. But like
well, you didn't have the,
I
it didn't grab you and
like I always considered practicing a chore. Like it was like practicing piano. Like there was nothing about it that the process to me was just annoying. I like couldn't get into it, and like that was kind of the difference between acting and playing an instrument is that like
you really liked
the
acting.
process for acting was something I could get into. The
It,
process for improv is something I can get into. Like the processes for these things are something
right.
that I can sink my teeth in and appreciate and enjoy. But instruments, it was instruments just annoying. I
Okay.
just like going through all these children's
Oh,
songs or
right.
whatnot
Well,
and these simple.
Raleigh, he decided he hated the piano too, unless he could play what he wanted. And he found the theme song for the Simpsons and a Zelda song, and he learned those because that was something he wanted to learn. And it was probably, but he still didn't like the piano, but he had the
I
theme.
don't know. I never really I don't know. I never really had the feel for it.
Well, not everybody does, and you were more the actor.
Mhm.
Raphael, even though he keeps telling me that he would have rather played like a horn or something, he really got good at the
Guitar.
guitar, and he could spend hours practicing and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no. Like he clearly has what it takes to be a musician and whatnot.
Right.
I did not. I did
Oh,
I
well,
couldn't bring myself to love the piano. In fact,
yeah.
I remember growing to hate and resent the piano. My dad would always make this big deal over like it was such an expensive
Oh, I
instrument.
know.
We should take such good
Yeah.
care of it and whatnot.
And
And like I as a kid, I like resented it. I was like, my dad loves you more than me. Like
uh,
it's like you you never hear him say telling the piano to respect me. No.
Speaking of Raphael, that reminds me of karate. What do you think of, remember, but because it was Raphael that wanted you guys to do karate. He was the first person to get into karate.
I mean, okay, so actually, I mean, like, where to even begin with karate? I did it for 12 years. Um, but so I remember that at first we tried the dojo that was
Yeah,
closer to our house,
right down the road
and
from our
they
house.
were weird,
Oh,
weird AF.
oh,
I
they
mean,
were. It was like,
like,
well, they said, okay, so we want you to pay for a whole year in advance,
yeah, they wanted to lock you in with a
and if you
contract.
can't afford it, we can set you up with a loan to pay for that year, and then you pay the bank the monthly. And then we're like, ah. And then
Wow,
they,
I didn't know about
oh
that part.
yes,
The
no,
part
they
I
were
remember was distinctly like they took us into like a room and they had me and Raphael do like different like karate things that they had. And then at the end they were like, well, we think that Raphael can be taught. And it was
right.
like
Then Ruben,
and I was
yeah, we don't.
like what? As a kid, for me, that was ridiculous.
Well, you know what my thought is? They probably figured I could not afford to pay for two kids, and so they thought, this kid has a little bit more. Let's go with him.
mhm.
I don't, that's my thought, but as it was, it's like I'm sorry. This whole thing when they told me how that worked, it was like I don't think so. And then Justin got involved through a friend of his,
Mhm.
the guy whose dad was a vet or something,
Yeah,
got Justin into the pit axe there on, and she was by the month, a reasonable price, and we all started.
yeah, no, I remember that.
And
We, as
and
a family,
Raleigh
were learning karate.
and Raleigh was like four. He hadn't quite made five, and usually she didn't take him before five, but she agreed to take us all on. Me and Dad got to yellow belts, and then we
Yeah,
decided
dad's knees gave out.
Dad's knees gave out, and my wrists and things. We realized that we'll let the kids do it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, no, I liked karate. I think I learned a lot from studying karate. Um,
no, I think you guys all learned that. That's I hate that Raleigh. He's the only one that was the karate dropout and just got to his third brown and didn't go for black.
I think
But
he was it third brown,
I
or
think he was right. Yeah, I think that was the thing.
I thought it was like first or second brown.
I thought he was right up to the next step was black, but because he was too young, he had to wait to get the black. That was my remember, but I could be wrong.
I I I felt like he started to move away from it. I don't like. I didn't. I thought he only made it to like first or second brown. I don't
Well, I
remember.
could be wrong.
I thought there was at least another belt in there. I felt like his going away from karate had more to do with like when he like started puberty and whatnot. He like got like he had a lot going on, and he wanted to like go to high
Go to
school and
high
stuff.
school, right?
And
Yeah,
I felt like that was kind of the stuff that pulled him away from
that
karate.
could be. He wouldn't want to admit that to his mother, probably. But Raphael, yeah, Raphael kept going at it.
Yeah, no, I'm a first degree black belt, but my brother is like a second or third degree black belt
Oh, I
now.
think he's higher than that.
Oh, is he up to like fourth or fifth? Holy
Yeah, something like he would know that too. No, he kept getting advanced. So
Raphael. I Raphael, right now you're a very high level black belt, and you're also a chemist. So you could be the next Dolph Lundgren. You could be the next one of him.
who's Adolph Lundgren?
Dolph Lundgren is an action movie star
Oh,
who, despite the fact that he is a big tough guy, has like PhDs in well chemistry.
oh wow. Huh,
Yeah.
interesting. No, I remember Raphael was the one that wanted to do karate.
I mean, I think I wanted to do karate too. There was a lot of things I
Well,
was
you know
into that was
what?
karate
You know
adjacent.
what you said. I remember you saying it would help you get parts in movies.
I did think that.
Yeah.
I did think that because I always enjoyed like action movies and stuff.
Oh yeah, you used to. I would take you kids in the. Remember that in the
Yeah,
drive-in
I remember
movie
going to the
with
drive-in
the
movie
big
theaters.
van and Ian and Justin and you and the Raphael and Raleigh and we'd
Mhm.
go. So yeah, I've got all those action movies under my belt.
Oh yeah, we saw a bunch of movies at the drive-in.
Oh, I love
Uh,
drive-ins are so fun.
yeah, drive-ins are fun. I went to the drive-in a couple years ago, a couple of times. But yeah, no, drive-ins are great fun. I remember going to the drive-ins. Uh, we saw a bunch of movies at the
We do.
drive-in, which it's a good deal. It's everybody. It's a carload of people, and
Right.
you get two movies.
Right. Well, one year we actually had a pass that we had unlimited movies. And so we would go in like and see one movie on one screen, and then we'd leave and come back and watch the movie on the other
I do
screen.
not remember that part.
I do that. I
I
do.
don't remember what. I wonder what movie we did that for.
Not too many, but occasionally, they had the double screens.
Hmm.
And sometimes you wanted the movie at this one, the first movie, but you wanted the second movie at that one.
The
No,
times would have to line up well, also,
right, that's true too. But
because some movies don't line up like that.
no, they don't because one's longer, one's shorter or something.
Hmm. And you've always liked the action adventure movies.
Oh, yeah.
So
Uh,
I don't. I guess I got that from you. Dad has terrible taste in movies.
he does.
Like literally, Dad watches two two kinds of movies: documentaries and comedies with like fart jokes. Like this is the range. This is the range we're looking at. Dad would just sleep in the could just go
Might
to
fall
sleep.
asleep.
He'd fall asleep. Sometimes he'd get one movie in, but he definitely wasn't seeing that second movie.
But he also hated the mosquitoes. That would
Yeah.
drive him crazy. What he's always had a thing with.
Apparently, mosquitoes are attracted to people who drink alcohol.
Oh, interesting.
So
But
stop drinking
yeah.
alcohol.
So he eventually stopped going to the movies with us, the drive-ins, because he.
I don't remember when he stopped. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely remember the drive-ins. I remember going to see lots of movies there. Good times.
They were fun. Um, well, my first job was at a drive-in movie theater
Oh
in
wow.
the concession stand. It was the Ascot Theater in on State Road, in what at that time was Northampton. It is now part of Cuyahoga Falls, but it was Northampton, and also where that theater is now, there's a housing complex. But that was great fun because I could see, watch the movies and stuff, and you're only busy really at the intermissions and stuff in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning and the.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that was my first job, was the concession stand at the drive-in movie theater.
Yep. That sounds like a fun job.
It was. Yep. And as a kid, I would go to that theater with my parents. Usually there my dad would, want to see a western or something, but there
Mm-hmm.
always were cartoons at the beginning, and they also had a little playground. So we'd go in our me and my sister would go in our pajamas, and you'd play on the playground. Then you'd come in, you'd watch the cartoons, and then you'd fall asleep, and then the parents would watch the second movie, and then you'd go home and they'd take you to bed. So yep, so I've always been a drive-in movie theater since I was a small child. So I wish there were still more of them around.
Very true.
Gone the way of the dinosaur.
They're
Uh,
still around. They're
there's
still
still a
around.
few of them, but not like,
There's like four or so in the area.
oh, I know the one in between Kent and Ravenna, which is the one
There's
we
the
used to
same
take
people
you
who own
guys.
that one also own one in Barberton.
I've never
And then
been to that one, but
there's another, like it's interesting because that both of them it's like the the people who own the one near Ravenna also the one own the one near Barberton, and
Barberton.
then there's another uh drive-in. I can't remember where it is, but they also own another drive-in somewhere
Oh,
else.
okay, interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
drive-ins are pretty cool.
They are. Oh, did you want to say anything about your movie aspects going out to California with
I
Dad?
mean, that feels like that's more of a dad thing, to be honest. I mean, like maybe I don't remember as a child that because like I guess my question would be like, what if there was anything any way you were involved in that maybe I don't remember, but like that is probably easily my most positive dad experience.
Oh, going with him to
Going with him to
California twice.
California to audition for this movie. The movie, by the way, was called The Mighty.
From the book Freak the Mighty,
Yeah,
which was a cute little kid story. And uh,
and and we even got to be extras in the movie.
yes, I got to walk across the street. I
Although, like, I was watching it on TV one time, and I
they
did
cut
discover that
they
our scene gets cut
cut
for television
television.
time.
Oh, that's
So
annoying.
that's if you watch it on television,
You
you
won't
will not
see us.
see
Oh.
12-year-old me. You want so
You won't see the family walking across the
yeah.
street in this one scene.
So you have to see the full movie to see us.
Oh, well, that's sad to hear.
Well, I mean, I
But
don't know if it's every TV
well,
channel,
well,
but
your
like,
uncle. It was your uncle Matt that
yeah, who,
said, "Hey, they're you got to make a. We had made a video of you and sent it out
yeah,
there, and they flew you and Dad out there,
yeah,
and then flew you back,
mm-hmm.
and then they called back and said Sharon Stone wanted to meet you, who was the mother in the thing.
Yep. At the time, she was like the highest paid um, female actor in Hollywood. and I had no idea who she was. She wasn't in any movies that
For
young
young
me had
kids,
seen.
right? No, because
Like,
she was in adult
yeah,
movies.
no, like she was famous for this. I believe it was called Basic Instinct or something, and like the movie is famous because there's a scene where like she essentially flashes the detectives by crossing and uncrossing her legs. A shot that later she a felt tricked into taking that shot, and b actually negatively impacted her child custody hearing later on in life.
Oh,
I
bummer.
know, wild. But she was nice enough. But I had no idea who she was, not even a little bit. And she even tried. I was a socially awkward kid, so I don't know. I don't even know how my conversation with her went when she tried to get to know me. Um, but yeah, it's a real. She was the person who insisted that I be given a second screen test, which was a cool experience. Sharon Stone, if you're out there, I'd still like to make a movie with you. All right, Mom. What else is on? What
Oh,
else you
let's
got here?
see. Let me look at. Oh, well, how about all the traveling? What, any favorite traveling memories?
I mean, traveling memories kind of blend together a little
Right,
bit.
because we did a lot of it.
As a kid, I always liked going to Florida, where Grandma lived,
Right.
because I love Grandma and whatnot, and of course, there was also Disney World. We got to go to Disney World there.
Do you remember getting lost at Disney one of those times we went
I
there?
don't.
You did. You got lost one of the
My more striking memories, however, like so, like as a kid, like I like camping and all, but like as a kid, there was like a point where there were some points where I was like, why are we camping right now? Like, and one of those was definitely when we went to the Florida Keys.
Oh,
Like,
were you with one of
that was some of the worst camping of my entire
the
life.
mosquitoes?
Like, that was the second place. The first place was the sand fleas. Like, I don't know if you remember this,
No, I
but
don't
like
remember
we
the
put the
sand.
tent like accidentally like by a sand flea trap. So you like get out of the tent and they like attack your feet. And it was terrible. And that was the place where Dad almost broke the law trying to like steal a conch.
Ah,
By the way, everyone is listening. It's
uh,
not pronounced conch. It's pronounced conch.
are you sure that wasn't behind Bahia Honda where he was trying to get the conch?
Well, so let me tell you what I remember. I remember
Okay.
he found a living conch on the beach,
Oh, a
and
living one.
he wanted to take it, and he figured he could dry it out, and then he'd have the whole shell. But then he saw a sign at some point that said that was illegal, so he went back and he put it back in the water.
Yeah. No, I really have fond memories of that trip to the Keys.
Oh, and then there was that one island in
Okay,
the
that
Keys
was
that we camped on,
that
and
was the
that was
worst one
horrific.
because it had all those mosquitoes. And was that you that said something about it?
I said, "This is
I
hell."
thought I remembered that. Yes. And Dad was, of course, he had a
We all had those things
little
on.
hats,
It wasn't enough.
it was
It
only
was
our
not
heads,
enough.
right? It was only our
Yeah,
heads. It wasn't our butt. And since then, Dad has gotten a full mosquito suit because he's really bad with the
yeah,
mosquitoes. They make instant big welts on him.
yeah. That's
But me, I'm one of those people that even I usually don't get bothered, but even on that key, I did get bothered by the
yeah.
mosquitoes.
No, those were two of the worst camping experiences of my entire
But
life.
you have to say Bahia Honda was nice. That was
I
the
Which
one.
one was Bahia Honda?
That's
I
the
don't
one
remember
like
it.
you're on a tropical beach. It had the palm trees, it had the white sand. You guys went snorkeling in the water. It was just
I
like,
mean, I remember a really nice
see,
big beach where
only,
I went snorkeling a
oh,
lot.
that was Bahia
Was there
Honda.
a lot of people there? Was
Yeah,
that a
because
big?
it was
Okay,
it
so
was
that was nice. I may not
yes.
have realized that
Well,
was
you
part of the
didn't probably
Keys.
know the name of it
I
either.
I may
Yeah.
not have realized that was part of the Keys
Yeah,
trip.
that was one of, yes, that was the
Like, yeah, no, my major memories of the Keys.
or the bad parts. Yeah.
Well, I
Those, yeah.
remember like we finally got into a hotel
On
And then we went to Ripley's Believe It or Not,
that
which as a
was
kid I thought
Key
was a lot of fun.
Key West. That
Yeah,
was
Key
Key
West.
West
Key West
where
was fun. I remember liking Key West.
and do you remember going down on the boardwalk where all the guy that would get in the little cube, he would
Nope.
oh he was one of those contortionists and he had this
Well,
little
it's wild the
plastic
things you
cube
don't remember.
and he squinched himself into the little
Now I
box.
remembered Ripley's Believe It or Not a lot more.
Yeah, that was
I liked
fun.
I liked fun houses. I remember we went to a fun house in Canada, and I think I had a really good time. And I always wish we went to more fun houses.
Oh,
Uh,
I didn't know
but
you had a
like,
thing for fun houses.
well, we only went to one of them, and I remember really enjoying it. Although I do believe there was probably a part that was a little scary. But yeah, no, I remember that. I do remember going to that trip to Canada, which it was to see the dead, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay. And I remember us traveling to Vermont to see the dead.
Yeah, we met Uncle Matt in
Yeah.
Vermont and in Canada.
The
Right?
Vermont one is probably one of the Grateful Dead shows I remember the best.
Well,
because it was like the last time we saw
right,
Jerry.
right.
And I remember the stay in Vermont too because that movie the hotel had a movie theater in it. And I remember we went and we saw that.
It was called the Latches. It was an old hotel and it was the Latches Theater. And if you stayed at the hotel, you got free tickets to go see the movie. Do you remember the movie?
I do remember the movie because that was we saw The Shadow.
The Shadow.
Which made me a fan of The Shadow.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to the radio shows after that as a kid.
That was a great movie. No,
Oh, yeah.
I really had fun. No, that was actually we went to Vermont to see the dead twice.
I don't remember the other time.
You may have them connected together.
So was that not the last time we were in Vermont?
That was the last time, but it was like
because
they were both dead shows, but we hit the one before Jerry.
Wait, was the last show we saw with Jerry in Vermont or Canada?
Vermont. Okay. Canada was earlier.
Because I remember when we went to see the Canadian show, the Canadian police eventually just like, just take down the fence, and they let.
No, that was Vermont.
Oh, that was Vermont.
That was Vermont.
That's weird because I remember saying like, "Man, these Canadian cops are cool." Maybe I thought we were in Canada when we were in Vermont. I don't know. I would have been like.
Matt and Kathy were with us, right? And
I don't remember that part.
Okay, you don't remember they were with us.
I don't. I remember.
Maybe that was the first one.
No, I remember because I remember them taking down the fence to let the people in was the last show I saw.
Yeah. Okay.
At least I think it was.
No, you were younger when we went to Canada to see the dead, and it was indoor.
Or was it that they took the fence down in Canada and like at the Vermont show, I was like, they would have been cool.
Canada's was indoor shows.
Oh, no, that's why I don't remember him.
Yeah.
The only indoor show I remember is when that guy accidentally burnt me with his cigarette, which wasn't really his fault. Although I will say, like, he took the exact wrong approach to get a kid not to be burned by your cigarette.
Oh.
Which was that he was like, I'm gonna hide this cigarette.
Oh,
and like I could tell he was hiding something, and like I just wanted to know what was behind him.
Oh,
and so like, yep, it was a cigarette, and I burned myself.
Yeah. What do you remember? What show that one was, or no?
No. I remember that was an indoor show. I don't like indoor shows.
No, I prefer the outdoor ones.
Like,
do you remember any of the?
What is even the appeal of indoor? I don't understand indoor concerts in general. Like, it's just like, why?
Well, to hear the music.
But now you're like trapped here in your seat, and it's like a thing. I don't know. Like, there's just something freer about an outdoor concert. Indoor concerts is like, I feel like I have to sit here.
Right.
And my seat is some type of valuable property I'm defending. It's just it's terrible. Like, even if I went to Blossom, the last place I'd want to sit would be in the pavilion.
Right?
Like, are you kidding me? We could be sitting on the grass, and you want me to sit in this pavilion?
Do you remember? We went to a show with Phil. It was an outdoor show.
I feel like we went to a bunch of shows with Phil.
Yeah, but he carried you in on his shoulders, and it was like in West somewhere.
Yeah, no, I was a small child, so people mistook me for a baby for a while.
Yeah, and then do you remember any of the Buckeye Lake shows? We we had all three of you and all two of you.
I was probably not aware that of the location.
Oh, right. Yeah, this is true. But that was an outdoor one where we had that the burley that we turned the bicycle burley into a big stroller, and you guys would all sit in the stroller, and we'd bring you in that.
Is that a venue that is also like Blossom?
Yes, yes,
Okay, I think I do have memories of that.
yeah. One time it rained, and you
Yes.
guys are sitting there under an umbrella in the
Yeah,
little.
no, I remember that was one show where a hippie creeped me out.
Oh, what?
I remember like I was a very like gregarious, although odd child, and I could make friends with almost any adult.
Yes, I
And
remember
I
that.
remember
Yeah.
there was this one guy, and like at some point in the concert, he was like, "How'd you like to come home and live with me?" And I was like, "Whoa!" And I was like, and then I just went and sat in the
And
stroller
stroller
thing the rest of the
the
show. I
show.
was
Oh
like,
wow, just
oh, I mean, excuse
oops.
my French there, Grandma. I was like, oh, forget this. That's too much. I don't know. Like, if I give that guy the benefit of the doubt, I'll just assume he was tripping. Uh, but like that was a moment where I was like, nope. I
Oh
noped
wow.
out real hard.
Oh
It
yeah,
was it was actually I'm glad I like it was one of the few times in my young life where like a red flag had actually like instantly clicked in my head. What?
yeah, right.
Nope.
No, nobody should like ask you. Right. You never told us that.
I didn't.
I don't
I feel
remember.
I don't
Seems
know.
like I would remember, but maybe I forgot.
Uh,
My memory's not what it used to be.
I understand.
Oh, do you remember one Grateful Dead show? It was some, I'm not sure where we were. You had drawn some pictures and you were selling them out of the
I know.
back
I
of
was
the
trying to. Yeah, I remember. I remember trying to trade or sell pictures.
back of the our VW van.
Yeah, no, young entrepreneur.
Right, yeah.
I saw. I knew that Grateful Dead parking lots were essentially bazaars for selling
Right.
stuff.
So you got involved in that. I don't remember where that show was.
A couple shows. I think I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to. Oh, train trips. What are your memories of train trips?
Not anything super clear, but I did like going on trains. I remember us traveling to Florida by train, and I remember that one. I remember
Wait,
some specific things about that one
well, let me
because
tell you before you get, we traveled twice to Florida by
I
train.
thought so. Okay,
First time was they still had a train station in Quaker Square. Well, that and
I
we
remember the train
left
station
from
in Quaker
and we
Square.
left from there and it was super long. It stopped at all these little towns. We went through Pennsylvania and then down the coast and then grandma and grandpa picked us up at a bus station, I think, or something. Anyways, then the second time we took the car train where you drive to Lorton, Virginia. You put your vehicle on the, or they put your vehicle on the train,
Oh, I do not remember
and
that part.
then we drive. You leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon from Lorton, Virginia, and you get down to Florida around Sanford, Florida, I think, and which is kind of near Disney World. And then it's all straight shot. You don't stop anywhere. The only people on the train are the people going that have their cars on the train. So the next day you're in Florida and you have your car with you. And I think
I
that might be when we went to the Keys. I think.
maybe. I mean, like we definitely had our car with us in the Keys because we
Yeah,
needed to travel between the islands.
right. And then we'd visit whenever we were in
Hmm.
Florida. We'd visit
Was
grandma.
that the year we also camped at Disney World?
Um,
I remember one year at
one year
Disney
we
World we did
camped.
go to the
Right.
campground.
Yeah. That might have been that year. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah, they do.
But
But the thing I remember about traveling on the train was just like general memories of walking through the train. I remember watching a movie on the train.
that was the car train.
It was
After
about a.
they would feed you had you got free dinner and then after dinner there was a movie to
It was
watch.
a. It was like one of those weird buddy cop movies where I think the cop had to like work with a kid to solve the crime. I want to say it was Burt Reynolds, but I honestly don't remember.
That's more than me. I just
Like Cop
remember.
and a Half or something.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, I remember that, and I also remember. I think it might have been the same one. Like at the final train station we got to, or maybe it was the other one. I remember I remember we got some Harvey comic books, like Richie Rich and Casper.
Wow, I don't remember that at all. That's the kind of thing you would remember.
Yeah, no. Actually, comic books are some of my big memories in Florida. Because I remember there's a comic book store. Actually, there were two comic book stores, like within walking distance of Grandma's.
Ah,
When she lived in that condo.
condo, right.
Um, and that was where I collected a bunch of Planet Terry comic books, which was a kids line of comic books put out by Marvel called like Star Comics.
Ah,
And it was the story of this guy named Planetary who was like a space orphan looking for his parents, and he just would have these adventures where he would gather new crew members from different planets onto
ah,
his crew, and it was like a serial storytelling, like each, well, kind of like each comic would have like its own like adventure for that, but it would always end on a cliffhanger to the next one.
oh,
uh
so you'd buy the next one.
yeah, ended up with like 7 issues of it or something as a kid. And there was like a fantasy version of Planetary that I can't remember what it was called, but I had one issue of that, but it was like almost the same concept. But instead of science fiction, it was fantasy.
Ah, see, the first year we went, we didn't have Raleigh yet. It was just you and Raphael, and you each had little bags that I made up with lots of little gifts in it.
Hmm.
And so on the long trip, you'd get to open a gift, and it would be just little fun things to do on the train, maybe coloring books, crayons,
I remember
toys.
doing a lot of drawing. I drew.
Yeah,
I drew like lots of pirates at the time.
yeah.
I
Oh,
remember I had one notebook that was just entirely drawings of pirates
um,
at the time.
and then on the way back, we stopped at the Children's Museum in Philadelphia. We had a layover in Philadelphia, and the Philadelphia Children's Museum, while we waited for our next train to take us back to Akron. And so we had this big layover, and we could walk to the Children's Museum from the train station. I don't, you doesn't sound like it's ringing a bell.
I mean, I remember us going to places like that, but it's
Yeah.
very like I know that those were types of places we went to and
All
that I
right, because we
enjoyed them.
also went to one in Florida that was a children's museum.
And I remember we used to go to the Inventure.
And now it's a high school or something.
Is it a high school?
I
It's still.
drove by it the other
Is
day.
it a high school? Oh,
Or maybe it's a middle school. I
I
don't know.
miss I missed that Science Museum Akron. You missed out.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It was fun. I liked going there.
Yep. And
But
they had. I remember.
yeah.
I remember they had the classic arcade game show came there one time.
Uh,
Very cool.
um oh, speaking of pirates, do you remember your fifth birthday?
No.
Okay, it was at grandma's house here at this house where you
Hmm.
live now. It was out in the backyard. It was a nice day. But we'd made a pinata. You helped us make
I remember we made
a
pinatas a few
pirate.
years.
It was a pirate pinata, and it was a pirate head. And and then when we went to beat it to get the candy out, you were really upset that we were gonna break the pinata. I see you don't
Yeah,
remember.
no, that would have been. That sounds like me. That sounds like me.
And we're like, but didn't you know that's what you do with the pinata? It's break it. And
That sounds like me. Yeah.
yeah, and you didn't have. It's like I think your cousin Amber was probably here, and
Hmm.
maybe Tommy was here, and when you were
Probably Lee.
5, yeah, Lee would have been here, and yeah, that was fun. So let me see, train trips and selling pictures out of. Let's see,
Hold on.
where were we? Do you remember?
You were looking at your list to
Oh,
see
okay,
what you wanted to ask me next.
okay. A piece of candy. Sorry.
Okay.
Anything to remember you want to talk about?
Um, I guess one of my favorite, one of my favorite things was as a kid you recorded Treasure Island. You made your own audiobook reading of Treasure Island for us to listen to in the car. And I think I don't know, that really stuck with me.
Maybe one of the trips to Florida or something.
It wasn't even just that. It was like there was some part of me that was aware you were doing it. Like there was a that you it, that you were putting in this effort into this project that I don't know. I think even as a kid, I somehow appreciated that on some point in some way.
Yeah, I know
I don't
you.
know if I really fully understood it at the time, but
Oh,
like
not until you were older
I
and
mean, like I assume it was more of a feeling at the time, not
right.
like a full realization.
Station. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. No, I
We
thought
listened
we
to
were
all
gonna.
kinds of stuff.
We did. We got those books on tape from uh, the Land of Make Believe. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Odyssey.
Odyssey.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
The
by Odds
Odyssey.
Bodkins.
Yeah.
No, I remember listening to that a lot. That was probably one of our favorites. I
Right.
remember we listened to that one in the car all the time. We also did all the Lord of the Rings books
From The Hobbit.
and The Hobbit. Um, yeah, no, books on tape were a big
Back
part of my childhood
back in
development.
the days of cassette tapes.
I mean, it moved to CDs and
Right.
whatnot.
Yeah, that's true. But you couldn't record as easy as you could on cassette decks.
It's true. Well, I mean, the thing about CDs is you would need a computer and you'd need to
Right,
record onto the
right.
computer and then you need to burn it to the disk.
Yeah, it was more complicated. Oh, do you remember once we were traveling and Dad was asking you something and you said, don't bother me, I'm imagining.
I don't remember the exact incident, but I remember hearing about this for most of my life.
Oh, right, because it was such a, it was just like you're in your own head and you didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah, no, well, it's amazing how much I both changed and didn't change.
And
Um,
also when you would play with your brothers, you would kind of want to direct the action and what the scene and the stuff. You were that director. Oh, which reminds me, I loved the play you did when you were at Kent State. You were
oh,
a
the play I
theater
wrote in
major.
college.
The play you wrote and directed,
Mhm.
all about conspiracy theories.
Oh yeah, no, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun
Um,
play. Yeah.
yeah, it's called the Dead Bee Conspiracy. That was a lot of fun. I had a good time with that. Uh, it's a shame that the video recording is actually missing just a little bit because at some point, I don't know, it ended up as two files instead of one.
Oh,
But so there's just a little bit from like part of the play that's missing.
missing. Oh, bummer.
But yeah, no, I really had a good time writing and directing that play. All my friends ended up acting in it. It was a really good time.
No, it was fun. It was really like so you got your directing in when you
Yeah, I got some directing in.
well from when you were a little kid that said you're going to be an actor and a director.
Yeah, no. As I've gotten older, I've realized that directing is the thing I can do, but that is I don't know. It's
You'd prefer not.
yeah, no. Directing is a lot, and at the time I realized, and like I guess one way I had changed is that I had gone from being like trying to tell everyone what to do to being and improv probably did this to me, but like being fully collaborative. And so, like, I was very open to actors trying new things and whatnot. And this annoyed my stage manager. Uh, but, uh, but yeah, no, they thought I was, I don't know. They viewed it as, they thought I needed to be harder about it. But like, I don't know, like, there was always a part of me that's like, no, I don't know. I've always viewed the art of creating as a very collaborative thing when it comes to theater.
Right.
Um, Probably the shows I had the most fun with were probably the plays we made with the New World
Oh
Children's Theater
yes,
in
I was gonna.
Jexo.
Yeah, those were great fun.
Because we got to write
Right.
and
The
direct
right, right.
and everything. Yeah, no, that was it was good times.
How old were you when you started those? You
I was
remember?
12.
12. Okay.
because yeah, I was roughly 12 because in my first play, I got did my first play with Antic when I was 10, but I turned 11 while it was happening. And then I think I did an, I don't know. I can't remember what else I did when I was 11, but I believe I was 12 when I started doing the World Children's Theater.
I think that's right because Raleigh was 5, and that would have been he was 7 years younger than you.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I remember that. I remember the first play I did with New World Children's Theater. It was a murder mystery. I can't remember what it was called. But essentially that the character I played was a detective who
Oh
I
yeah, I
who
remember.
like I don't know what was going on with my brain like when I was this age, but like at some point like I'd gotten like after I started reading, the first thing I got into was Batman. And so I was just obsessed with Batman comics, and I had tons of Batman comic books. And a character from the Batman comic books that I had slowly become like a fan of was this detective named Harvey Bullock, who was kind of like which is an interesting character to latch onto because he's just this sort of he's this fat detective who eats lots of donuts, and he's kind of like the the tough guy of the police department, and he has to and his partner is a woman who is like the more reasonable one of the two, and for some reason that was a character I latched onto. So like I literally like based this character and like his name and everything off of Harvey Bullock from the Batman comic
Oh,
books.
uh,
And yeah, no. And then I proceeded to dress like him for like at least 10 years. Although the look was altered in my teenage years when I got into the Matrix, and that changed the color of the trench coat from like the traditional brown
brown to
to black.
the black one, right? Okay,
So
I had no idea that was based on a detective that
yeah, from Batman.
sort of a tan trench coat or
Yeah, no, and like he had the fedora and everything, and he would smoke stogies. Uh, 5 o'clock shadow.
interesting.
Yeah.
No, I remember those plays were such fun with you guys, all the
Hmm.
kids, all the little homeschool kids, and you did that for quite a
Yeah,
many
no, we did.
years.
I mean, we
Because
did it up until I was like 19.
yeah,
And like as like basically like late age teenagers, we wrote two more we essentially wrote two more plays that were a lot of fun. The first one was enough we went back we're like we went back to a murder mystery, and we called it La Poulet Sans Tête, which my
the
understand
chicken minus its
yeah,
head.
chicken without a head.
Yeah.
Um, which what the whole idea is it took place in France, at what it turned out, not to give away the spoiler or anything, but it turned out to be an insane asylum. Um, so like it was pretty interesting.
No, that was a fun one. I that one had the bass boy and Chitlin in it, and Raphael had that long, uh, the dread thing.
Yeah, no, he had that for a while. We still lived at
Yeah.
the farm when he first grew like that first. I forget what they
Phil
call
did
it.
that.
I forget what they
A
call it.
rap. He had a
Yeah,
rap.
he had a rap.
Phil did the
Just
rap for him.
he
Just
looked he had the look that Anakin Skywalker would later have.
ah,
Well, I mean, except that Anakin Skywalker would like cut all of it off except the
except for
rap.
the rap
Raphael had the rap with like the rest of the hair.
there. Yeah.
So that was fun. Um, yeah.
No, those were what was the you said there were two that
Oh, right. And then we did Frankula,
oh yeah, Frankula. Yeah,
which
that
was
was a good one.
probably our magnum opus, as far as comedy writing goes as a group. Because I remember that play. Uh, I played Dr. Frankenstein, or as I called myself, Dr. F. Um, and essentially, the whole idea is we were renting out a room, and this ancient vampire played by played by my friend Justin Harrison, played the vampire. But the whole idea was that instead of having like the typical like suave, like mysterious vampire who was like very like self-assured and like into his power, like instead like this vampire showed up and he was like a nerd. Like he was like very like awkward and social and like and whatnot. And Dr. Frankenstein mistook like would mistake his like weird vampire eccentricities and like his name was Stu the vampire. We picked
Oh, yes,
Stu because
Stu.
we thought it was like the least possible like cool name
Right.
that
Yeah.
you could have. No offense to stewards in the world. Stewart's a fine name. But like he starts off and like early on my character mistakes his eccentricities for like being Jewish. um like he comes like I remember one thing that we wrote was that like he comes in with like a beanie. My character mistook it for a yarmulke, and like he immediately took the hat off and was like, oh man, the propeller fell off my beanie. uh and it was that kind of stuff.
Stuff. Yeah.
And like Raphael played a vampire hunter who was like not the sharpest tack in the box. And like the two deals with him, of course, is that he's hunting this vampire who is Stu, and at the same time he is also having like a romance with Dr. Frankenstein's daughter, um,
Who was?
who was played by Caitlin
Okay,
Williamson.
that's what I thought.
And
Yeah.
then
Right.
and then like we brought in almost all the Universal Studios monsters. I can't remember if we had a werewolf. But like we also brought there was a like we had Caitlin Klingman played the mummy, essentially. Like we find a mummy in the doctor's basement, and then she comes out and the doctor and the mummy go to get married and stuff. And there was a whole bunch of wacky stuff like that. And like it also and like of course we called him Bass Boy, but he's more commonly known
Oh,
now
right. Yeah,
as
right. You grew up with them as being.
crap, what is his real name? It's he
Uh,
tours and plays country music.
oh
Um
boy, now I feel really stupid. Sorry about that.
it's like I could name drop someone and I've literally forgotten their name because like I
Okay, so what's Chitlin's? Jessica. Oh, Jessica
Mayfield,
Mayfield and David Mayfield. You
David Lee
gotta, you
Mayfield,
gotta,
yeah.
you gotta work back that way.
Yeah, no. I also know Jessica Lee Mayfield. She was also in this play, and she played. Crap, who did she play? What was her part? I forget.
I don't remember either. But at that time, her nickname was Chitlin,
Yeah,
and you guys tried to get her real name, and she
no, she wouldn't
refused.
tell us
She
her real
wouldn't
name.
tell you the real.
She insisted she go by Chitlin.
And so now, that's like the name that's in my brain: Chitlin and Bass Boy.
Yeah, yeah, no, they. But they have a wild. They had a, yeah, it was fun working with both of them, but um, he played David Lee Mayfield played Frankenstein's monster, which was great for him because he didn't have any lines. He just had to act physically, and he was into that. He also played the dead body in Le Poulet Sans Tête, and I remember Chitlin's role in that one a lot more because she was the maid and she was
Oh,
super
yeah.
crazy. Um, uh, yeah, no, there were a lot of good people in that play. But no, I remember we were one of the first to make fun of the Verizon wireless guy. Because there was a scene where like my character is talking to was talking to the vampire hunter, and he's like explaining that he's a vampire hunter. Um, and as he's explaining him being himself being a vampire hunter, the Verizon wireless guy just walks in the front door saying, doing the line, "Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?" And when he gets off stage, Raphael just jumps up and like I forget if it was like an axe or a stake, but or a knife or something, but he throws he throws it off stage, and we hear the Verizon Wireless guy get hit by it and die. And I turn to him and I go, "The Verizon Wireless guy bust a vampire?" And he's like, "No, someone just had to do that." And yeah, no. Frankula was great.
Yeah.
It was also my first time working with my friend Angie, who I would later go to college with, and would be in my improv troupe and be my stage manager for that play we mentioned previously.
Ah,
Um, but yeah, no, lots of great memories. Lots of
yeah.
great memories.
No, those were always great fun when you guys did those. And you started out really small in little venues and then you worked your
Well,
way up to.
the fun thing was we started off at the Mantis in Kent. Slash some plays we did. The first show we did was East of the Sun, West of the Moon, and we did that in the what at the time was the Standing Rock Cultural Arts Gallery.
Which was very
It was very small.
small. Yeah.
But it was also where Jimmy Image kind of lived. Which I did not know. Like I just knew Jimmy Image as this sweet dude who well, I knew him actually a couple ways. He was the father of a childhood friend. And then also who ironically was not part of this scene at all. But I did not know at the time that he was like kind of famous in the local punk scene. Uh, and but I just knew him as the guy who did all the sound stuff for our plays, and who everyone thought was super cool. Um, and So I remember Jimmy, and but we would do like one show we would do in the art gallery in our season, and then we would do like two shows a year. I feel like
Yeah, I
because
think
there
you
was always
did.
a show
Yeah.
when it was hot, and there was always a show when it was cold.
Cool.
Um, and it was at least two. There may have been years where we did more. Um, but but I remember we performed in the Mantis, in the Mantis, which was actually like a punk, was like a punk venue where like punk bands would play, which was fun because sometimes we'd come in to set up for our shows and there'd be like broken glass all over the place. Um, but but like I didn't, but like there was a part of me that was aware of it, but I didn't realize how significant of a venue it was until I was watching a rock documentary many years later. And like I saw Devo on that stage, and I was like, wait a minute, Devo is playing in the Mantis? And that kind of blew my mind a little bit. But yeah, no, I always loved doing those shows there. And I remember when we did that first murder mystery, it was interesting because somehow we had attracted like a crowd of drunk college students who would like keep coming to the show after they went to the bars. Which was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, do you remember when we lived at the there in Boston Heights where we would climb the ravines, climb around in the ravines and stuff? No, you don't remember
Wait, no,
that.
that was the farm, right?
Yeah, the farm. Well, that was Boston. Yeah, the farm was in Boston Heights on the
Yeah, no,
west.
I remember going all over those ravines.
Yeah, that
Like it was
was.
a thing that happened so commonly that I don't actually like
Oh, it was just fun. It
remember
was
specific
specific
times.
times.
It
No, it
was just
was
like there's this. I knew that was a thing we did all the time.
right because it
And I
was.
remember that there was like those trees on the front of the property right up at the street that I would go and like uh hide under them and like pretend it was almost like a
Yeah,
natural fort almost a little bit.
cool. Yeah, that the farm was nice living there with James and Bernice and
Yeah. Oh wait, that reminds me. I wanted to ask this. Okay, so is it true that I met Stephen Gaskins when I was a child?
yes, and Ina May Gaskin. They came to visit Bernice at the. I think they were heading to something up in Cleveland, and they stopped in to see Bernice there at the.
Wow.
Yes, they were
Stephen Gaskins is a very famous hippie for anyone who's not familiar.
started a community that's still going on in Tennessee,
Mhm.
which is was its name was the farm, and
Which was confusing for me as a child.
which is where Bernice came from,
Yeah.
and she met James down there, and
Yeah. No. Like I always like think of where like for all intents and purposes, I very much considered the farm we lived on was essentially like a miniature commune. Like that's how I interpret that period of my
well,
life.
yeah, it was. there's James and Bernice, and Bernice's two daughters, Chloe and Sadie.
Hmm.
Our friend Tim was there.
Yeah.
There was, well, it started out just Ruben,
Hmm.
and then we had Raphael, and then we had Raleigh. And then we also were taking care of a young man with Down syndrome, Terry, who lived
Hmm.
there.
And
And
then Jasper and her mom lived there for a
right,
couple years,
right,
who
Jasper,
is Jimmy Image's kid.
right. And yes, so that was a fun place. We were close to the bike trail, so we would hike and take bike rides.
Yep.
That was nice. And they had, oh, and Bernice, James and Bernice had a horse and a pony, which was did you ever get the ride on?
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
remember being on the horses.
yeah, right.
Which horse to me back then, horses were gigantic.
Okay, Tony, oh, they Tony was a huge horse because it pulled an Amish buggy. They had an Amish buggy that they'd kind of tricked out with yellow wheels that and
Mhm.
didn't look like an Amish buggy anymore. But so he had to be big to pull this buggy. So yes, he was Ruben, a giant horse. And so, and to you as a little kid, he probably really looked like a giant horse.
Mhm. I remember they had a pony too.
A pony, Miss Nell. She was uh hmm was Tony the name of the horse? I think the horse was Tony, and Miss Nell was his companion, because horses need like buddies and stuff.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Like sheep need buddies. Remember the sheep? We had
I
sheep.
do remember when we owned the sheep with the best lawnmowers we ever had. Although, oh my God, we never got good at shearing them
No, do you remember Raphael passed out that first time we were shearing the sheep?
because, of course, we waited until it was already hot to shear them.
Yes, right. It was really.
I remember the time Dad almost clipped me with the clippers. I have this shirt upstairs. It's my Babes in Toyland shirt from
Oh
when
no,
I did that at Weather Vane, which may be the last musical I ever auditioned for. That was fun though. I played Rodrigo. Um, but I had that shirt, and I remember like we're trying to shear the sheep, and like somehow I'm like on the ground, and like Dad's shears just come right there, and it's like there's a hole in the shoulder of that shirt
oh wow, we're
where Dad
dead.
nearly clipped me.
Oh man.
I think that may have even been like one of the last times I agreed to do that. Like, no.
Yeah, they didn't last real long. And
I mean,
then
I
we,
felt like we had the sheep for a few years.
well, we did, but well, what it's Molly and what was the other one? It
I
was
don't remember.
Molly and
I don't remember I don't remember their names.
well, Molly was the girl sheep, and Albert, Molly and Albert, and yeah.
I remember Dad used to take when we just had the one sheep. Dad used to take her everywhere.
Oh right, we had put in for these. They were baby South Down sheep, so they weren't going to get huge, and we put in a request for them from this breeder in somewhere south of Akron. And they called us and said, "Oh, the one sheep, its mother has rejected it. It won't nurse it. You want to take it home and nurse it." So we took the kitchen table out of the kitchen, put a pin up, straw down on the floor, and made it a place where we kept feeding it until the other one was ready to.
Impressively, I forgot that part.
Till the other one was ready, and then we had both of them, and then they lived in a pen outside. Sheep are also another thing you shouldn't just have one of. They need to have a companion.
Animals, so
Yes.
expensive.
Yeah.
I remember we drive around with the sheep in like a baby's car seat
Yes. Yeah. Dad would take it with. He worked at the
at church.
church. Let's see, church in Silver Lake.
Yeah, yeah.
And he'd take it and show the kids at the daycare.
Mm-hmm.
No, that was Albert, Molly, and Albert. Then we had rabbits, and
Yep.
chickens, and then Raleigh got that.
In all honesty, I think my childhood burned me out on pets.
Ah.
Like as an adult now, like every pet I have owned since has been like someone else's idea.
Oh.
Like even Rose, who I adore, was something that like my ex was always like, you should get a cat.
Ah. So that wasn't your own idea.
I mean, I mean, I agreed to it, but it was I would probably not
Not
have
have
gotten a
come up
cat
with
if
it.
someone
Oh,
had not been like,
you
I
should
think you
get a
would
cat.
benefit from owning a cat.
Well, it's good to have a companion around the house with you.
Yeah, no, it. My favorite thing about owning a cat is that there's constantly someone who can look at me like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Sometimes I just like to randomly do dance in front of her so she can look at me confused.
Eh. Oh, well, sorry we burned you out on animals, Ruben.
I mean, a lot. I mean, like the routine of it, I think, just wore me down.
Well, yeah, there is a lot of work to
Like
take care of.
rabbits were a lot. Owning rabbits was so much.
Yeah,
Every day you gotta go out and you gotta bring them water
you
and
gotta
food,
bring in water.
and then in the winter you gotta change the water maybe once or twice a day because it's gonna freeze.
Oh, now
Oh,
see, Raphael used to complain that we made him do all the animal chores, but I guess I could hear you were doing animal chores
well,
too.
I mean the rabbits were the ones that I took care of, if I
You're
remember correctly. Although I think he did help with the rabbits too. Um, and I didn't ask for the parrot. Someone else's idea to get the parrot, but
no,
then I was the only one the parrot liked.
that
And
was somebody that Daniel knew. Somebody they knew had a parrot they were trying to get rid of, and that's how we ended up with the parrot.
mhm. Well, the parrot wasn't my idea, but it ended
No,
up becoming my responsibility, which was terrible because I went off to college. That needed to be someone else's responsibility.
yeah. So I always wondered, you just wanted to get out of the house and go live on campus, or what?
I don't know. I felt like there was experiences I was missing out
Missing?
on.
Oh, because you were living at home.
Yeah,
I'm sure you had good times there.
for the most part. Living in an apartment was probably more fun than
Oh, living in
living in
the
a
dorm,
dorm.
right?
Because like living in a dorm, I don't know. I never had a roommate when I lived in the dorm, so it was kind of like a very common feeling of isolation.
Can you?
It,
They called.
we're talking about all the different animals.
Oh, right,
Uh,
right, yeah. Well, we still got a bunch of chickens,
mhm.
two dogs, a cat, and you just have a cat.
Yeah, I just have a cat because it's the animal I have an attention span for.
Well, you got one that's kind of skittish and she hides a lot, so.
She does, and she also likes to sleep upstairs where it's warm. Uh, or she likes to sleep on the back of that one chair in the other room by the window.
Uh, probably likes to look out the. Our cat likes to look out the window and see what's going on out there.
But yeah, no, like I don't know if I could take care of a dog.
No, they're more
Dog seems like
demanding.
a lot of work.
It is. They're more demanding.
Although apparently they're healthier to own than cats.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Like dogs are apparently better for the human gut biome than cats are.
Hmm. I hadn't heard that.
Ah, yeah, no, just stuff I hear on NPR every once in a while.
Right. Yeah, you always pick up lots of facts and interesting tidbits of stuff.
My brain's just like, hey, that's a thing we should. That seems like an interesting thing to know. We should hang on to that. Although, like the frustrating thing though is that like you spend a life doing that, and like slowly over time, like certain things in your head get debunked, and you're like, God dang it, I'm carrying around this junk
Oh,
forever.
and it wasn't real. It was just like
yeah, no, that's always very annoying. It's
something.
like, oh, this factoid meant nothing.
Oh, do you remember about when we moved to Stowe?
Oh yeah, I remember the stove. Like, was I
7.
7? We moved there
No,
when I
no,
was
no, 9.
7.
9. Sorry, wait.
Was gonna say I felt like I
No,
was 9 or
you were
10.
9. Raleigh was 2, and you were 7 years older. That's I got the 7. No, it was you were
Like
probably 9 because Raleigh, you were.
I remember moving to Stowe. Um, for the most part, that was pretty cool. Spent a lot of my developmental years there in Stowe.
Right.
Stowe itself is not a very exciting city. There's just not really a lot going on there. They don't
true.
have like a real like. There's not a part of Stowe where you point to and go, "This is Stowe. This is downtown Stowe." Like, there's not
right.
really.
Like Cuyahoga Falls has a downtown
Yeah,
where
like
they do stuff and
like there's like Stowe just doesn't feel like it has a centrality to it at all. Like maybe it's because it originally was like farmland,
Right, it was.
but like there's just there's no part of Stowe that feels like this is the heart or center of Stowe. Like Stowe feels like a weird transitional city between the three main cities around it, which are like Kent
Yeah,
and
Kent has
Cuyahoga
a
Falls.
very,
And
very defined downtown, and Cuyahoga Falls has very defined downtown.
mhm.
And you're right, Stowe does not have any such thing
And
like
it's
that.
confusing because like they have shopping centers just like these other places, but like I don't know. Wait, are there any bars? Are there any bars in Stowe? I can't think of any bars in Stowe.
There
Is that
is.
why there's no central downtown to Stowe?
No,
There's no bars?
there there is a uh
No local watering hole.
margaritas or something,
I don't know. I don't really
but
drink.
not a lot. They don't have very many. That you're right. I never thought of that. And they have a lot of just regular restaurants that
They
maybe you can get.
but there's like no real place to like gather in Stowe.
You're right. There's not.
Which reminds me, I saw the new playground they put in at that one place we used to go to all the time that used to have the awesome wooden playground. They've now replaced it with a multicolored metal thing.
I gotta say though, it's spread out,
I
and
guess
there's
that's a,
lots of stuff. I hate the ones where
I mean, it
they
is
just
about
they
like
just plop one blob in the middle of the playground that's got everything, and it's
mhm.
like that's just one blob. It's like, where's your
it
kids gonna run around? Where are
it
you
is.
gonna encourage them to go to another thing?
I mean, like I guess that is the upside of it. Is it is comparable in terms of size and scope to the old one.
I was surprised as I'm watching them build. I'm like, wow, cool. There are lots of pieces and lots of equipment and lots of stuff. It's not just one of those
And it's and,
stick a blob in the middle and
and it's also still better than that other playground in Stowe they put in there where it's like
one blob in the
I mean,
middle.
yeah, it's all red, and also like there's like no coverage.
Oh, right. No,
Like it's just straight out in the sun.
sun. Right.
Get your child boiled alive.
Yeah.
It's next to Safety Town.
Yeah. Right.
Miniature towns always intrigued me as a child. I don't know.
We went to one in Florida at the Children's Museum. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember that or not. It was,
Well, I don't even mean the kind you can walk around, but also like I do
oh,
remember the Children's Museum actually. There was a lot of if the Children's Museum is the location I think it is, then I remember a lot of cool things from the Children's Museum.
well,
Yeah.
well, which kind of miniature towns are you talking about?
Like I mean those kind too, but like also like miniatures,
You mean like you
like
sit on your
like yeah,
table or
like
something
model
and,
like
oh,
stuff like that.
okay. Oh yeah, we used to remember our train we had, that little Playmobil train that,
Oh yeah, I remember Dad built that Playmobil train table, uh, which was a pro. So like I don't know, maybe I got not finishing projects from Dad, because like the train table was something he would like periodically go back and try to improve. Like I remember he at one point he started to make a tunnel and like he like modeled the tunnel and made it with chicken wire and plaster and like gave it like a waterfall and stuff, and that was pretty cool. And like there was always the implication he was going to do more, and then he didn't.
yeah.
The one thing, the biggest mistake he made though was attempting to like use seashells to decorate like
Oh,
around it.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, such a hazard. So, like you're just getting stabbed and cut by seashells all the time. Like you accidentally back into it, and it's like ah.
Right. Yeah, he moved, he
He
made,
made the edges more dangerous, is what I'm saying.
yeah. So he built that there at the farm,
Yeah, and then he transported
and
it
then
to
he
Stowe.
now it's in Stowe, but now it's just become the junk. He keeps talking about cleaning it off and making the train run again,
I mean, he's at the right age. You know that sounds like the perfect like hobby for a guy Dad's age.
and
He should consider doing that.
yeah.
He should consider doing it. Turn it into a little tableau. You know, have the train run around it. It'd be great. Give him something productive to do
Oh,
because he needs to clean out that room.
I think you have stuff in
I
that
know I have
room.
stuff in that room, but every time I go to get stuff out of that room, it's buried under more of other people's stuff.
Well, this is true.
Makes it very frustrating to find anything. I
Yeah.
am looking for so many Game Boy games.
Oh,
There are Game Boy games somewhere in that house,
I'm sure
and I
there
want
are.
them back.
Um,
Comic books too, I'm certain.
yeah, though some of them got ruined down in the flood.
I recovered a lot of those,
Oh, well, that's good.
although they will never be worth money now.
Uh, you were hoping to make money on them.
No, but like it's still lame to like it's still lame when a huge chunk of your collection, specifically the Batman chunk of your collection, has significant water damage.
Uh,
Um, a lot of the other comics that were just absolutely destroyed, though, were actually comic books that a friend had gifted me that he didn't need anymore. And like as sad as it was that they were destroyed, I didn't have the same
oh,
emotional attachment to
attachment to
them, and
them.
like I hadn't even read most of those. But it was cool to have them, and he had like complete runs of Spider-Man, so they actually might have been worth some money.
Uh,
But yeah, tragic about having a basement that floods sucks, people.
yeah,
Don't ever put anything you care about in the basement that floods.
yeah, right.
I
That's for sure. You lost a lot of stuff. Lost a
yeah
lot of albums, record albums.
yeah
Uh, do you remember the song that Ron Good made about you?
yes, I remember the song that Ron Good made
Do you
about me.
remember what motivated it?
I mean like Ron was always obsessed with me, so it's hard to say.
It was a Mountain Dew commercial.
Yeah, no, I remember. I do. We were. I no. I okay. So that was what inspired it. I knew that he had put that in the song. I didn't know that was what jump started the song. But yeah, no. I remember this was during the like early '90s, and the extreme advertising had started to like try and target Gen X and older millennials at that time. Like so, like the Mountain Dew commercials would always be like people on like like dirt bikes jumping off of cliffs or like people skydiving or like some type of extreme sport of some kind. And like as a child, I would see these, and my commentary that I gave to Ron was sugar makes you do dangerous things because that's how I interpreted those commercials. Like because it was just like, oh, they're drinking this sugary drink and then they're jumping off of cliffs,
We probably had instilled in you that
snowboarding.
sugar wasn't good for you as you were growing up.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
I don't remember it too much. I just remember that as a kid, like things like soda and whatnot were just like special occasions. Like that was stuff you only got when you were going out, or maybe you got one of those natural sodas from the co-op and stuff. But like pop was never a thing we had in the house.
growing up, it was the same for me. My mom didn't really get pop too much, and when I go to my Aunt Margie and Uncle Jim's, they had those little glass Coca-Colas back,
Mm.
and that was like my treat over there was a
Yeah.
little.
I mean, honestly, people really shouldn't keep pop in the house. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's like they're like I love pop, but pop is no real solid redeeming qualities. Like there are only pops that are worse than other pops. There's not like, oh, this is the good pop. Well, no, that's the pop that's not as bad
Yeah,
as
that's
the
the
other
other
ones.
pop, right?
Like so like I grew up drinking Sprite because it has significantly less artificial things in it just by virtue of being like clear and lemon lime flavored.
Uh, uh,
So yeah, and like I didn't drink any caffeinated pop for many years, which reminds me, do you do you remember the Grateful Dead show where
you had a nice tea or something,
yeah, it was like a Snapple iced tea. Um
and yeah,
and like it was my first real exposure to caffeine, I guess. And like as you were like pushing the stroller I was in, like I started to like I felt weird. Like I felt like I guess my heart rate must have gone up and I wasn't used to this. And like part of it was also maybe in the sensory experience because we were like pushing the stroller over gravel.
right.
But like so for me, suddenly everything just felt like it was fast and jittery,
Yeah, I remember
and I
that.
didn't
And
like
you
it.
and you telling us that.
And I think I've had a fear of heart attacks ever since.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, it's on my list of fears.
But you still drink lots of caffeinated stuff.
I mean, yeah, but like, you get a tolerance to caffeine and whatnot.
Not me. I can't
It
do.
takes 7 days to get a tolerance to caffeine. You got to drink caffeine
Oh, well,
concurrently for 7 days to
okay, well,
develop a
that's
tolerance.
after the first time, and I'm so wired, I'm not going to do it
Oh
again.
yeah, no, like I do drink caffeine sometimes. Although like small like green tea doesn't bother me, and I drink a pretty good amount of green tea.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's supposed to be good for you.
I mean, yeah, they say so. Um, but yeah. Well, we've been talking for almost 2 hours,
Oh,
Miles.
wow.
Is there
Doesn't
anything
seem
else you
like it.
wanna
Well,
touch on?
I think I
We can
got.
always save some for next Mother's Day.
Yeah, I think I got everything on my. Oh, I didn't mention the Cub Scout troop when you went to Kent City Hall. I thought that
Oh
was a
yeah.
funny story.
Oh, you thought it was a funny story? That was traumatic.
Oh, for you it was
For me, that
traumatic.
whole experience, well, not the whole experience, but like for me, that was like traumatic. Like, I guess, like, I don't know. Like, when I think about Cub Scouts, like, it's hard for me not to hate it in hindsight.
Well, you didn't. You were older when you
I
got
know,
started
like,
and
so that was
stuff.
part of it. Like, I was older when I got started. Like, I was at the age where, like, I would normally be like the last year of Webelos, but they were like, yeah, we guess he can be in the group until he finishes being a Webelos or whatever, and then he can get into a Boy Scout thing or whatever, which never really worked out. I never got into a Boy Scout troop, but like I remember the thing I most remember about Cub Scouts is that there was that one German family
No.
who may have tainted German people for me forever.
Huh.
And like they were like the opposite of us. Like if I really think about a family, like they were very like ordered and whatnot. And I think in their mind I probably had behavioral issues. I think that in their mind I was like this kid with like some behavioral type issues. I am certain that that's how they viewed me based on how, because I was boisterous and whatnot, and I wasn't used to interacting with adults who didn't like think I was cool. Like, I grew up surrounded by adults who were like, "This is a cool
Right,
kid,"
you like
and
old hippies,
yeah,
and
like
yeah.
old hippies are like old hippies love kids. They're like, "Oh man, let's listen to the wisdom coming from their mouths," which is a thing that hippies think for some reason. But like they were not like that. They did
Well,
not.
it was a homeschool group,
Yeah,
and yeah, and
and
so
and and the thing I didn't know, like the thing I didn't understand as a kid was that there's essentially two groups of people who homeschool their kids. There are hippies, and then like the freakiest Christians you know. Like that's the spectrum right there. That's and like the hippies make up the smaller portion of that group. And like like it's like I remember there was a documentary where they actually dropped the statistic that over like it's like around 75% of homeschoolers are part of some like very right Christian denomination.
oh wow.
So like that, so like yeah, so like half the people homeschooling are chaos, and the other part of the people who are homeschooling are order, and it's not a good mix.
Right,
Uh,
because there's the unschoolers, which are
yeah,
let
no,
your kids kind of lead what
and
they
I
need.
remember like when I was first starting off, like as a child, you had all like this Waldorf stuff.
We went to a Waldorf thing in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and
Yeah,
that was fun. I don't
which
know if you remember
I
that.
will say that I think that they have a lot of cool ideas in terms of fostering creativity in children. But at the same time, I don't think that having a fairy tale for every letter of the alphabet helped me learn the alphabet.
Uh,
I don't like, I remember the stories, but like, what were the letters that went with those stories? I don't remember. Um, but yeah, no, Cub Scouts. We never did anything cool while I was in Cub Scouts
No, we
either.
didn't. Yeah. Well, the troop was the pack was
They
just
were
kind of getting
lame.
well, it was just getting started. Somebody decided
It seemed like there were a lot of kids in it for something that was just getting started.
well, they were homeschool kids because they didn't, and a lot of them were, and there was like two groups. There was like, and they eventually broke up because there was your really right wing, like you were saying, the real fundamentalist Christians, and there was your more lackadaisical ones, and
I remember being at a meeting once it became Boy Scouts because you had me on paper as a Boy Scout, even though I had no interest in being a Boy Scout. Um, but yeah, you had me on paper as being a Boy Scout. And I remember going to a couple meetings, even though I didn't really participate. But I remember there was one it was like a meeting, and I forget, like maybe they were going over like a sketch or something, but like one of the kids said like dang it, and one of the mothers was like, could you not say that, it offends me,
oh, you're
say
kidding.
darn it instead. And it was like, and like I can remember thinking, whoa.
Yeah, that is pretty intense. I don't remember that. Well, I guess yeah, I didn't realize we've been
Oh, and I
sitting
didn't
here
actually
talking.
explain the town
Oh,
hall thing,
oh
so
yes, right,
we'll
yeah.
explain the town hall
Yeah,
thing,
right.
and then we'll go on. So possibly predictor of future Ruben's difficulty with getting along with government. uh One of the last things I did with the Cub Scouts, because like they were being generally cool about me hanging around, even though I was like 12 or almost 13 or something. And like I was supposed to be moving on, but like my family would, like both my brothers were in Cub Scouts, and I didn't really have anywhere else to go, et cetera, et cetera. But so the last straw for them, I guess, was we went to this town hall. Uh,
Kent City
we went
Hall.
yeah, Kent City Hall. Yeah, town hall and play some other, but and like to basically just talk with a government official. And like my question to this guy was very simple, because like a thing I couldn't wrap my head around at this age was, why does the government care how tall our grass is on our lawns? And like I would not let it go. I was like, no, but seriously, why? Like, why is this important? What about our grass length is a big deal to the government? And like because I like kept pestering this official about it,
He must not have given you a decent answer then.
I not to one to my liking. I don't remember what he said, but like nothing he said was enough to make me go, okay. Um so so yeah, and then essentially essentially we got a phone call where they were like, we don't want we think it's time that Ruben stopped coming to Cub Scouts. And but the thing that got me is that they basically said that they had had problems with my behavior for a while. And like as a kid, that was really like impacted me. I was like, what do you mean? Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this?
Yeah, they never said anything either, and
Yeah.
I think that was just their excuse.
I mean, like I could, in hindsight though, like I believe that.
Oh,
I think that German family did have a problem with my behavior. And I don't know what's up with my behavior. I might be autistic or something. I stim, I do a bunch of other things. You've actually in this conversation said a few things that made me go, oh, oh. But like beyond that, like still like in my mind, they were dicks. And like I remember like I don't know what, like I remember that you felt it was important that like if I had a problem with it, that I should like try and confront them about it. And I remember like I went over to the guy who I really don't like, an obnoxious dude, terrible dad jokes, absolute absolute jerk. But I went over to him, and like I started trying to be like, hey, if you guys had a problem with my behavior, why didn't anyone ever say anything? And like he just kept trying to like change the conversation, and
oh
like he
wow.
he started to put on me like, why aren't you in Boy Scouts yet? And
Oh,
like I remember I started to get flustered, and that's when you finally stepped in, and like you started talking to him about it. And I don't know how that resolved, because once you were in there, I wanted to remove myself from the situation because I was getting a little emotionally overwhelmed at the time.
oh right, yeah.
But like, yeah, no, I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy at all.
Well, these things happen. Well,
Yep. Well, happy Mother's Day, Mom.
well, thanks, Ruben.
Thank you for coming on my podcast.
Yeah, I kept hearing him and thinking, oh, I should interview Ruben. Ruben's always he interviews other people, and he so and then we decided, oh, Mother's Day would be good.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll do it again next year.
All right. Well, think of things you want to say.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Mom.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oops.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Thanks, Ruben.
And happy Mother's Day to all of you and your mothers. Oh, wait. Say goodbye, Mom.
Goodbye, everybody.
And adios.